right.
Let's go.
Good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to the first, no, this is not the first anymore. Welcome to this episode of Game Life Chronicles. In this episode, we are going to take a look at classic gaming, old school gaming, right? Not the modern stuff, but the things we've all been playing since we started playing, the systems, the games, all that good stuff. Today, I have with me Sherm and Chris, who are both avid gamers, right? They love their games, different genres, and we've played a lot together.
Play everything.
And we're going to talk everything. We're going to talk a little bit about some classic titles, some gaming consoles, how it's evolved, any iconic franchises. We're talking Zelda, Mario, Mortal Kombat, all these things. We'll try to hit on everything we can, and we'll see what comes of this episode. All right, so welcome. I have Sherm and I have Chris. What's up, guys?
What's going on, squad?
Chilling, man. Chilling. I'm excited for this. I've never done a podcast before, so this is going to be interesting.
I mean, I've listened to a ton of them, but yeah, this is my first one too, so I'm super stoked. I'm hyped.
And I wouldn't do it
right.
with another group. You understand?
Hey,
you
This
know,
is the group to do
yeah,
it with.
you know
This
what
is
I'm
the
saying?
group to
This
do
is-
it with.
We've had countless. How many times have we discussed this topic over the phone, bro? Like
Over the phone, playing Monster Hunter. You know what I'm saying? All types of stuff.
person, I feel like we've almost come to blows over things. No, I'm just kidding.
Playing the Division. You get what I'm
Oh,
saying?
God,
Oh,
the
man.
division.
It was a lot.
That
It was a
That
lot.
was a lot. All right, so before we get in there, for each one of you, right, give us a little bit of background around your gaming journey, right? Like, how did you start off and how did you get to where you are now? So anybody can start.
Oh man, Sherm, you want to start that one off, man? Because I got
I'll
mine
start.
is long. Yeah.
I'll start. So, my name is Sherm St. John. Case manager in real life. Cosplayer on the side. Gamer. My longest relationship has been with video games. So I've been playing video games since I was around 5 or 6. I had a Nintendo. I'm 38 years old, so that should let you know. I had a Nintendo as my first system. Mario 1. That was like the first game,
Yeah.
right? Mario 1.
I feel like that's
Mike
everybody.
Tyson Punch Out. I had a couple other games that real quick. I don't play role playing games. Chris knows this. Sparkle knows this.
I've tried getting him into it. It's
Yeah.
it's I don't want to say it's a lost cause, but it's just not his thing. If he would have
And-
had to get started in the beginning.
And role playing games meaning turn based, not role playing like Zelda.
Yeah.
I'm talking like run,
Like
fight, potions. Yeah, those.
He's
No.
talking about like the JRPGs, like where it's turn
Right,
based,
yeah.
like the tactical
Yeah.
RPGs, like
And-
nothing. Yeah.
And I tried when I was younger. I had a game called, I think it was called Dragon Warrior. I don't remember, but it was a over the head RPG on Nintendo. I tried it. It was one of the games I had. I'm 5'6". I don't know the difference, but it didn't resonate with me. Games like Mario, Punch Out, Mike Tyson Punch Out,
Oh,
Mega
Punch
Man. You know what I'm saying? Like games like that. Then Turtles 1. Me and Chris was just talking about the
Oh
Turtles
my
game. We're gonna
God,
get into
yes.
that some other time.
Yeah.
So Turtles 1, Turtles 2, Super Mario Brothers 3. You know what I'm saying? I also do MMA, you know. Our girl Sparkle, we're both black belts, you know what I'm saying?
White
We got our
belt.
black belts essentially around the same time.
Chris.
We're both certified instructors, you know what I mean? Then I went from having Nintendo to Super Nintendo. So now I had like games like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. And the funny thing is, my mom bought me the Super Nintendo, but a bunch of the games that I got were hand-me-downs from a friend that she had that didn't want the system anymore. So all these games I be talking to you about, Chris, Final Fight, Street Fighter,
Yeah,
Contra, all them games came from somebody else. My
Yeah.
mom didn't buy them. So
I mean, isn't that how all of our libraries kind of happen? Like
Yeah.
word
Somebody
like see,
gave
that's
you
the thing
something.
about how we like. So for instance, I'm Chris. I'm a avid cosplayer, avid gamer. I met the squad years ago via comic conventions and just gaming in general. So I love you guys for that. I started my gaming journey, roughly around the same age as you, Sherm, like around 5, 6. The difference is I played other people's consoles. I was broke, so I didn't get my first system till I was 9. And my first personal console that I owned was a PlayStation, but the system I started on was the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System, then the Super Nintendo, N64s, things like that, and I wanted all those consoles. And my cousin was the greatest in my personal group, was like the greatest collector of all time. The dude had literally like a library of games. Like he had like, it felt like a museum when you went into his room. Like he had every single console. He was a merchant marine, so he would go overseas. He would get consoles from Japan. Like he would get everything
Oh.
before I even knew what it was. Like he had like, Capcom just released it, like the beat 'em up collection with the Punisher and Nick Fury. I was like, I didn't even know that game existed until like I realized he had it. But yeah, my gaming journey started with that. With Super Mario. Like oh my god, this is a problem. You start talking about retro games, everything starts flooding back. Like I was like, oh god, this is just overloaded with stuff. By the way, I'm also I work in facilities management. I work at a college, at a university. Maintenance. What's up? Blue collar
Yeah, let's
work.
go.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so when it came to like all those games, like I started with the OG stuff, the NES, like everything that you could start off, like from the really really fun Super Mario games all the way to like the really hard headed games like
Mhm.
Ninja Turtles.
It's
um,
funny though, like the ages at which we got our first console. Like I remember, I didn't have my own first console until I was in like it might have been a PlayStation 2 or one. That's the first one I
yeah,
bought, right? Because like my sister had gotten like the black and white Game Boy with Zelda. That's how we were playing all those little games.
yeah,
But in Trinidad, we went to there were game cafes, and you paid for the minute. You paid
yeah.
for the
Oh
time
my
you were
god,
playing. And like
wow,
that took my money. Like that killed my
the
pocket.
nostalgia
So
just hit.
so another thing, like when I tell you I played games, I used to have Tiger handheld games,
Yes,
right?
Oh
I feel
Yeah,
wow.
like we
these
all
games
did.
I had like Sonic One, Street Fighter. We're gonna
Lion
get into the
King.
Street Fighter thing at some
The
point,
Street
right?
Fighter, yeah.
My cousin had a Sega Genesis, so I played um Lion King on the Sega
Oh,
Genesis.
Lion King was
Anybody
hard for no reason.
anybody who has ever played Lion King knows about the giraffe level.
Yeah,
Everybody knows about that thing is
yo,
That
impossible.
game
the
for a
funny thing is
Disney game,
you have to
hard for no reason.
nowadays we have things like YouTube where it's like people can see like backtrackers like yo, we didn't have none of this like
Yo,
growing up.
You
forget
can
yo.
figure it out. Yeah.
I beat Mike Tyson Punch Out in third grade.
Yo,
Sparkle, I don't
oh
know if you
god, when
ever
you were
played
telling
Mike
me
Tyson
that.
Punch Out.
I didn't finish.
Mike Tyson
I
was
didn't finish that.
hard. I'm talking
I
like
didn't finish it. Why would
hard.
I didn't bother to finish it?
So, real quick, like my story of games cannot be told without this. And both of you know this story. So, for anybody listening to this, if you ever went through this, feel me. So, after the Super Nintendo, that's when discs started coming out, your
Yep.
PlayStation, whatever. So after the Super Nintendo, I ended up getting the now dead and deceased Sega Saturn, right?
Oh.
Oh.
Sega Saturn, the Sega Saturn was a great system, but it died. And it died because the PlayStation came out. And the PlayStation destroyed the Sega Saturn. Games stopped being produced for the Sega Saturn in America. In
Yeah.
Japan, the games were still coming out. So this is when I was really into like fighting games. Like I was always a main thing was always fighting games, even though I loved adventure, action, RPG games, right? So I ended up getting this thing called the Action Replay Plus. That
Yep.
allowed you to play Japanese games on your Sega Saturn because the Sega Saturn had a disc, but in the back it had a cartridge slot. That's what that slot was
Oh.
for,
For those
apparently.
that don't know what Action Replay was for us back in the day, Action Replay was like a modding kind of thing, where it's
Yeah,
like, but it was sold, like you could buy it in stores as well. So it would
yeah,
allow you to play like the bootlegs, it would allow you to play like stuff that you
I didn't
didn't
know
have
that.
access
yeah.
to. Like, man, like Action Replay on the PlayStation, oh my God, that was like, you needed it to pass certain games, man, or like just to even
Yeah.
like play things that you didn't have access to.
Oh, and to go even further back before I finish the story, remember Game Genie?
Yes. Oh God.
Sparkle, you never heard of Game? Yo,
I
okay, so
no.
Game Genie was a cartridge
Yep.
that literally put all the cheats into your hands. Like you put it in your system, you had everything. Every
Are you
cheat
serious?
for any, yeah, it was. I never had one, but I used to have the Game Pro magazine, the Tips and Tricks magazine,
Oh yeah, I used to get those
Electronic Gaming
magazines.
Yep.
Monthly. Game
Game
Genie
Pro.
was the ish. So back to the Sega Saturn thing. I started getting games like X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter on Sega Saturn. They were perfect arcade imports. They were like playing them right in the arcade. On the
Yeah.
PlayStation, they sucked
Yeah,
because you
we
couldn't
had this.
you
We had
couldn't
this.
switch characters. You couldn't switch
Yeah.
characters.
We had
Now,
this argument a while ago, and I was like, "It wasn't that bad." He had a like Chris. I'm telling you, bro. No, like
no,
it's bad. He had to put
if
a
you
footage of like on a YouTube clip as like, Chris, look at the comparison. And I was like, all right, I concede. I was like, but like me being like a PlayStation fanboy, like I wasn't gonna let my system go down. Like I was like, but it was playable. It wasn't
it
that bad.
wasn't playable.
He's like,
But it
You
Chris.
wasn't the
ask
same.
any fighting game pro player about the PlayStation version of X-Men versus Street Fighter and the Sparkle. Look, these are tag team games. You understand? A game like this, a smash hit, arcades everywhere, laundry rooms, laundromats. I'm sorry. You put in your quarter to play this game because the thing is now you could play with Ryu and Ken versus Cyclops and Wolverine. Like this is the thing, right? Now
Yeah.
imagine that game comes out on your system and you can't switch characters. What's the purpose of the game? The graphics
It's still a fighting game.
took a
You're still
hit
gonna play.
really bad.
You still gotta learn the tech. The
Now
technicalities.
Chris is gonna do this because he's a PlayStation person. But let me tell you something:
Of course I am.
the system itself, the PlayStation 1, did not have a proper 2D chip. It was not made for a game like that. So by default, it's not good. It's
Okay,
just not good.
but you can say that about any console
Say
game.
it about another game that was released on Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 2. Mind you, I'm only talking about PlayStation 1. I'm not talking about any other system.
No, we're not, because we're talking about the retros, okay?
No.
Again,
Yeah. We're not talking about retro. I'm specifically talking about the Sega Saturn versus the PlayStation 1. That's all I'm saying.
But you was comparing like the Dreamcast to the one last time.
Because
listen.
You can't compare those.
But for a fact though, like if you're playing a game where a certain mechanic is like the strongest part of the game, when it switches console and you don't have that mechanic anymore, like it takes away 80% of what you can do.
That's a deep number,
because
man.
they don't
I don't think it's deep enough.
When you're about to die, like
yeah, that's the point. And you know what they did to suffice that? I don't know if Chris knows this, but I played the PlayStation version of the game. What they did was they added chain combos. So basically, you could start your super, cancel it into another super, and they thought that was good enough. And I'm like, this is terrible. Bro, this is not the purpose of the game.
Is it terrible? Is it terrible though? Because those chain combos led us to some of the greatest, like, future combos in other games.
That's not true.
I think the only way you would have not noticed that is if you never played it on the first console. If you never experienced that mechanic, then you would have not felt like you missed anything, right? It's like eating chocolate and then becoming allergic to it. Like, you don't know what you're missing.
But
that's
even
a really fair point.
This is the thing. Chris keeps doing this because Chris don't know how to lose a freaking argument. That's his thing. He doesn't know.
I know how to lose an argument.
Sparkle?
I lose them all the time with my wife. What are you talking about?
We need a fact checker for that. We need live fact checking. Anyway,
I never said that I win. I said I just like I rebuttal all the time. Like even when the argument's over, I'll be like, yeah, but then you still could. See,
you don't know how to lose. Okay,
proving my point. See? So Sparkle, since I've got into Street Fighter 6, right? Mm-hmm. I've been looking at all types of like old competitions from Street Fighter 2. Guys that was playing back in like 93, 94. Yeah. You know what I've never seen played? The PlayStation version of X-Men versus Street Fighter and Marvel Superheroes. It's never been a tournament for that piece of crap. It's never been a tournament.
You're gonna edit that out. I apologize to the family.
So now that we settled this,
they're always gonna play like the PC ports or like the actual like arcade version of
The
game. Why
playable
would you?
versions of it, you mean? Like the ones that are
No,
actually...
it's not playable. It's like, everything is playable if you try.
Oh, okay.
If you try.
Everything is playable. One more thing here, Spark. One more thing before I move on to the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2. Capcom has released multiple collections of their games throughout the year. You understand? The one collection that people have been waiting for is the Marvel collection. The X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men versus Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, Marvel versus Capcom 1, and Marvel versus Capcom 2. They finally announced it a few months ago, which is making people excited, right?
Yeah.
Guess what version of the game then that's not in the collection?
Why,
Like, how
why
much
would
more
they?
proof do you need that they knew that was a mistake? They knew it. If you go back and you read articles, Capcom apologized for releasing it on the PlayStation.
They also
apologized?
apologized for Street Fighter 5 too, bro.
They
Semantics.
apologized for releasing
Come
it on the
man.
PlayStation?
They apologized because they were forced to do it because they didn't have an American port of it. So people were asking, hey, we want it. When they released it, soon after they said, this was a mistake. Like, this was not what we wanted because it wasn't what people were used to. Now, the PlayStation in itself, great system. Like, I'm not knocking it. It was a revolutionary system.
He's just talking about this specific game. Like, he's gotten on my case about this a bunch of times.
And that's
and
it.
I was like, yo, but I still had fun with it. I don't care. Like,
the only reason why I brought it up, Spark, is because I'm talking about my journey, right? That's all I said. That's all I said.
Sure, his journey.
So now, I know I'm taking up a lot of time. Let me just finish this. All right. So after the PlayStation 1 completely crushed the Sega Saturn, I needed a new system, right? Sega dropped the Dreamcast. Now, when the Dreamcast came out, that even Chris knows that the Dreamcast probably the greatest system in regards to like what it
was ahead
for
of its
gaming.
time.
Yeah,
it had things features that I didn't think were possible, like the online thing, the
definitely online
like even like that memory card, the digital memory card was like I was like, I've never seen anything like that at the time. When it came out. The graphics were, like let's be real, like they were superior
at the time.
In a lot of ways. At the time.
Yeah, it was. It looked fire at the time. You were like, "What is this? It's a whole new world."
The control, and I didn't hate the controller, but I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite design. We've talked about that too, but
at the time I didn't hate the controller just because I didn't have much experience with the controllers.
Right.
We're gonna get into controller. We're gonna get into controllers in a little bit because I know he's foaming at the mouth to get at this one. But also the thing that it wasn't. It was probably my cousin's console. He probably had like a poor manufactured one. But I always told Sherman, like, every time I play the Dreamcast, as much as I like playing, because one of my favorite games, Jet Set Radio Future, was one of those games, or Jet Grind Radio, excuse me, because Jet Set Radio Future came out for the Xbox, which was the sequel. But I love games like that, Sonic Adventure, just when it comes to like when it comes to games in general, like the thing that I feel that pulls back the nostalgia, like that really like gets us hooked into games, is our first initial play. Like, forget the graphics, because if you're talking about graphics, like if you go back to like NES is 8-bit, it's trash. Like, let's be real. But
compared to now, it's terrible.
Yeah, but it's what we had. But the thing that is always constant, no matter what, when it comes to gaming, is the soundtrack. The second you hear the opening, like everybody goes nuts. Like you hear somebody play that on a piano, there's gonna be an uproar in an audience. Like, oh, like it's no matter what. Sorry, that was my segue. But yes, like the soundtrack is like Sonic Adventure had like some of the best soundtracks. The one thing that I did not like about the Dreamcast, and again, this could have been my cousin's because I experienced this a lot. That joint would freeze all the time. Like there was like certain moments in the game where we were like, oh, we gotta finish this level because this thing is about to go. Like it would start like the player would like trip twice, and we were like, oh. The frames are lagging. The system is about to freeze. We're gonna have to shut down.
Yeah, so
I always had that issue with the Dreamcast, and that's why I personally like crapped on it a lot. I was like, man, this system sucks because it's great overall. Like it has features that a lot of consoles didn't have, and the graphics at the time were superior. Like you wanted to play the Dreamcast versions of something, but at the same time, you didn't want to own a Dreamcast. If you were in my neck of the woods, it's like, nah, man. Like it was like maybe one or two people in my freaking school that had a Dreamcast, and everybody else had PlayStation and 64s and freaking PlayStation 2s and businesses like that. But the Dreamcast is like, when it came to that console, for some reason, it sold poorly, and it's unfortunate because it had a lot going for it.
So my Dreamcast never froze, right? So I can't speak on that because that would have been unplayable. But when I got the Dreamcast, you know, like Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like these games were like perfect. Like Street Fighter 3, Double Impact, that was the one that had Second Impact and Third Strike in it.
Yeah.
Street Fighter Alpha 3, and the Dreamcast came out in like 99, I think, around that time.
Was it 99?
It was like 98, 99 around that time.
It came like in the late 90s, and I was like, this is kind of late for those systems, but it was still, yeah.
So this is what happened with the Dreamcast, Spark, because you were in Trinidad around that time, right? Okay, so this is what happened. When the Dreamcast dropped, it was the successor to the Sega Saturn, right? It was the answer to the PlayStation 1. The graphics were better than PlayStation 1. The issue was this. The Dreamcast dropped right before DVDs became a thing.
Yeah.
So when the PlayStation 2 dropped, it had a DVD player.
D-Drive,
Killed the Dreamcast. It just that alone destroyed it, because now you have a
little history for those people that are listening. Like, for the reasons why it was a big deal is because for the price of the PlayStation 2, you're getting a console and a DVD player. DVD players at the time were like $400 or $500. Like now they're like in bargain bins for like $5-10.
Yeah, because systems do everything now. You don't even need it anymore.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, at the time, it was unheard of to have like wait. So like you're at the store and the guy's like a dad is walking in. It's like, yeah, I'm looking for a family movie night thing. I want to get this DVD player, and then the guy's like, well, for the same price, let me tell you, you can get this and this together. What? I could get a video game console and a DVD, and they play DVDs. Bet.
That was it.
It was, and the rest is history. Same thing. And then like the PlayStation 3 tried to do the same thing. But
don't get too far ahead though, because
too far. Yeah.
Because here goes the thing with the Dreamcast. Another thing that killed it was that you were able to burn games on it. So instead of people buying games, they just started burning everything, right? However, here goes the thing. You ever heard of a franchise called 2K? I'm pretty sure you heard of it.
Yeah,
of
course.
That was
a little
Dreamcast
franchise.
2K, what was it? 2K1 was like the best one?
No, it was
Iverson?
Allen Iverson was on the first 4 2K covers, right?
Yeah.
At the time, NBA Live was the game, but there was no competitor. Like you had games like NBA Showtime, NBA, like even Kobe Bryant had his own game, Kobe Bryant Courtside. You had a bunch of NBA games, but NBA Action, but none of these games was like live. Live
Sherm's
was
gonna laugh
the
at me
thing.
when I say like my favorite basketball game was in the PlayStation called In the Zone.
No. I remember that. Like it was a bunch of games that was fire. So Dreamcast dropped, and it had its own sports games, which was 2K, NBA 2K, NFL 2K. So 2K now is the only basketball game that matters.
Yeah,
it started
I remember
on the Dreamcast.
It was
right?
like there was so much like trash talk about what was the best basketball game for years. The best basketball game, hands down, was NBA Jam on the Sega Genesis. Like nothing was touching that game.
Yeah, but that
years.
was an arcade type game.
No,
like
I know.
That wasn't like a serious basketball game. It was just arcade.
But that was the thing, is like that's where it came down. It was like even with the serious basketball games, like they weren't touching like an arcade type game like NBA Jam until like the 2Ks came out for Dreamcast. So
I don't agree with that. Because NBA Live was very popular. EA Sports Live, Madden, all of that, it was very popular.
Well, Madden has always been
like,
I feel like Madden was always like kind of fire. Like if you were into sports games, like Madden, I felt like was consistent for years up until like, I want to say recent years where it started to feel repetitive. But
you're skipping one. You're skipping one. Once again, you're skipping one. Now,
Go ahead.
I'm going to get to that in a second. Let me just fast forward the story. PlayStation 2 came out, crushed the Dreamcast, and I had this thing where it's like, I don't like Sony. Because every time I get a system, they kill it. Okay. So.
Here we are, though. Here we are now.
Huh?
I'm the Sony fanboy, like,
but look, so
now PlayStation.
Now I need another system, right? And I'm going to these stores, and in my mind, I'm like, I'm not getting a PlayStation. What's out? Dreamcast had a big effect on what system? The Xbox. Right? The Dreamcast controller was the blueprint for the Xbox controller.
Yeah.
That's why the colors, yellow, red, green, blue, it looks similar to that. So now I'm like, all right, what's a system I could get? Xbox was too much. It was $50 more than I had. So what did I settle on? The Nintendo GameCube, right?
Fire system.
I
feel like a lot of people, and I see, we were around when there was the console wars. Like,
the real console wars, yeah.
People talk about console wars now. It's like, it's nothing compared to what it was back then.
It's not really a war right now, right?
No.
Like, it's people have what they have, and there's not enough evolution or change or competition.
Every game on every system is exactly the same. There's no difference.
Like
except for the Nintendo version of the game.
Yeah.
But that's on purpose, though. That's on purpose. That's on purpose.
That's
the biggest debate right now is console versus PC. That's the biggest.
That's
what it is. You can't win that. We cannot win that. I'm sorry. I'm a huge console person, but it's like then. Like PC, like there's a joke in the community. It's like they're called the master race for reasons. Like,
it is. Let me tell you something.
Y'all know. Card can't play.
Listen, I'm sorry. Y'all know I've always been a console person with y'all, but when I switched over to PC,
of course, you became part of the master.
But the mic sounds a little far away.
Sorry. I have to wrap that up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but seriously, for real, the PC is different, man. Like, I've always been a console person, but PC definitely has been a different experience.
And I've played PC games. Don't get me wrong. Like I used to love playing, like, this is old school, like back in the 90s, like Duke Nukem, or again like Max Payne, stuff like that. So I was playing like the old stuff on like before, like, I feel like the technology for PCs like took off. Like there were times where I was like, man, I feel like consoles are funner than PC until like you really, really start diving into like actual PC gaming. You're just like, holy crap, man. Like just seeing what the modding community does. Like shout out to the modding community, because they fix a lot of the games that get messed up in the ether, and it's just like,
PC is fire until you have a problem, because when you got a problem with your PC, then you just that's the one thing about consoles. Consoles don't give you the same type of problems that PCs tend to give you sometimes.
No, they don't, because some like what was the game? Was it? No, it wasn't Cyberpunk. Oh, it was oh my god. I'm trying to Crisis. The running meme for years was, but can your PC play Crisis? Like, 'cause Crisis would melt like systems, like it would, not consoles, like it would melt like PCs, like it would ruin your graphics card. It would, because it was just so, like, that game was like
the package was too big.
Yeah, like the file size was crazy for that game. Like just like everything that was like down to the detail, like it would fry. Like I would hear people like saying like, dude, my motherboard got fried, and I was like, dude, what? Trying to play that game? Like, like you're talking about like $5,000 PC gamers like have to like invest into their stuff. Like we give each other hard times, like, $70 game. Meanwhile, these guys are dropping down like $1,000 pieces on parts and stuff.
Yeah. The price of games is atrocious, but we can get into that later.
Any more questions, Spark? I feel like we need a part 2 to this thing.
We might. Like, that was one question. Yeah. All right. So okay. So we went through a whole lot of them, a lot of stuff there. What classic games hold a special place for you guys? Like that one game that you're just like, oh yeah.
That's a loaded question, because there's so many. But
Chris.
No, she said what games. There was plural.
And then I said which one, and then I said which one.
Okay, so if I have to be very, very specific, I'm gonna have to. Oh, this is gonna hurt me because I love Monster Hunter, but it's gonna have to be the Legend of Zelda series. One, because that game, it just started off the adventure. Like,
which game though? She didn't say series. Which game was it?
Specific Zelda.
oh well, if the one that kind of like hit me the most, like that has a special place in my heart, Ocarina of Time. Like that was the one that I feel like in gaming history that changed the dynamics of gaming, of what you could do with the game and how special it was. Like people till this day still talk about the water temple and how hard of a labyrinth. Look at your face. Look at your face.
Yeah.
You see, people still talk like a legendary. Like you want to talk about fighting games? A legendary duel was Link versus Dark Link. People would save extra files just to redo that specific battle. Like
those are the type of stuff too that when you get frustrated enough, you just have to leave it and walk away because like you can't move on. You can't move on.
Don't get me started. See, the funny thing is, when it came to that game, I wanted to like master everything about that game. Like no matter, I didn't care that it was like difficult because for me it was the journey was so fun for that game. Other games I could be like, nah, I need to walk away. Like Crash Bandicoot did that to me a few times, and I love that damn game. Yeah, like that game holds a special place in my heart, especially because now my daughter's name is Zelda, but I didn't specifically name her after the video game. People love to. It was that had part. It was part of it, but it was just like we really love the name. But yeah, like it's kind of like synonymous at this point. Like that's how much I love the game. I have my own kid named after it. So, Sherm, what was yours?
It's that game. So
there you go.
The Legend of Zelda. Now, mind you, I didn't have a Nintendo 64. My friend had it. So at the time, I had the Sega Saturn, but he had that game, and he was like, "Yo, bro, you should play this game." Now, mind you, this is what 1998, 1999. I ain't know, yo, for years. I think it was 98. For years, I was one of those people that thought Link's name was Zelda because I never paid attention to the game. No. I'm like, all right, this is Zelda.
Me too. I can't even. Me too.
Then I learned, whatever. I started playing the game. It's not my type of game because I never played an adventure game that expansive. You understand? So
yeah,
I'm playing it. I'm in junior high. I'll never forget this. Right, the Dark Link fight. One morning, I woke up just to play this fight
in the water temple, the temple that everybody hates.
Just to play this fight, right? And I died. That whole day at school, I was like, yo, I gotta beat this. I have to beat this level, right? Got home, beat it. Everything about that game is perfect to me. I don't care what anybody says about it. The music, everything.
Yo, what did I say in the beginning? Yo, it's the soundtrack that always brings you back.
The classic music in that game, the Serenade of Water,
it's amazing.
Everything is just so fire. And to go on to Chris's point about the Water Temple, I remember back in like 2013, there's this, back when memes started like popping up.
Yeah.
There was this picture of Barack and all his people in the office looking at something like this, and it said the Obama administration trying to figure out how to beat the Water Temple. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, this is 2013. You get what I'm saying? So the game came out in like 1998. But that's the game that like put me onto the Zelda franchise. Because before that, I didn't really care about it. But that game in particular, I played after that, I played Majora's Mask. Then on the Wii, I played the one where you turned into the Twilight Princess, right?
Beautiful game.
But even before all that, I played the Ocarina of Time again when it got re-released on the game.
Yep.
I played the whole thing again. I was like, yo, this game, like they could re-release that game again.
And people will play it.
Have you seen the fan made of the person using the Unreal Engine to recreate the game? It looks. I would buy it again. Just to experience it in those. Yeah.
Everything made sense. Like there was nothing in that game that was just out of whack. The way you got your horse helping people in the village.
Yeah.
the way you got the light arrow, the sun arrow, and everything, the tunic,
you had to
Yeah.
use the morning sun to get the fire arrow. Like that was like one of the crazy. The light arrow you get from Zelda. The ice arrow I remember. Like that one was a little tougher to get, but just the fact that you could fuse the bomb to the arrow and make bomb arrows. Like it had customizing options that were like the games didn't like. I mean, probably games did it that because I'm not gonna sit here and say I played everything, but there were a lot of games that they used certain features off of each other and like they're like that you can combo these items together like Resident Evil, like the whole mixing the herbs together to fuse them. Like nowadays you do that. Monster Hunter does that. Like friggin' Dragon's Dogma does that. Like like combining like things together. So again, all Capcom games. So shout out to Capcom. But can we talk about one thing in particular that I want to say about? Like I grew up in a Spanish household, and for every console that I had, PlayStation, Game Boy, Game Gear, doesn't matter what it was, everything was referred to as Nintendo. It wasn't even a Nintendo. It was just, apágame ese Nintendo. Turn off the Nintendo. It was like, you'd be playing for hours or whatever. Nintendo, not for nothing. I had an N64 growing up. That joint was goated. And I'm going to tell you why. I had a PlayStation as well. And I would get in trouble for gaming a lot. Like, I would be on it for like hours. And my mom would start getting upset. So I remember one time I got in trouble in school. And my mom knew how to get to me. She would go after my console. She would hide cables, hide controllers.
Hold on, wait, time out, guys. I'll be back in a second, all right?
Yeah,
I'll be back in a second.
She would hide things all the time. Like all the time she would hide stuff. And like there were times where I would find it. So one day she got really pissed at me and she threw my PlayStation. My PlayStation 1 has never been the same. Like it just like it just never is never like I kept it for years, like into like my late 20s, just for nostalgic reasons, just for like because it was like this was like a console that I owned. It was one of the first ones that I owned personally, so I kept it. Even though when she threw it, it just never worked the same. My N64, I remember one day I got into a fight at school and my mom got like the phone call and she was pissed. Like she was so upset. Like she grabbed my N64 cables, controllers. Mario 64 was still in the console. She chucked it across the hallway. And I was like mortified, like, because she already destroyed my PlayStation.
Yeah.
Like, but yo, that joint survived numerous throws. It wasn't the first time she got mad at me. She threw that thing across the hallway, and I was just like, that. The N64 was so durable. That joint was like a tank. It was built like a tank, and it friggin' proceeded to like work like a tank. Like I remember I would plug it right in after she threw it, and the joint was just fine.
I promise you
for
now,
people that didn't have to worry about it, you'd have to blow the cartridge, but
it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
if this PlayStation 5 falls 1 foot off this table, it's not going to play anymore.
Oh my God, my 360s. Let's not even talk about my Xbox 360s. Sherm, how many Xbox 360s did you have? Two. How many?
Yeah,
how
I had
many
two.
Did you have, Spark?
I had two.
I went through
had
9.
two.
I went through 9.
Oh God.
I went through 9. And everybody's like, 9 Xboxes? I was like, okay, so for the people listening, the reason why I went to Xbox, like after, like, because I wanted to go to PlayStation 3 at the time, but the problem that I had with PlayStation 3 is the price tag was way too high. Like, it was, dude, it was like, what, $600 when it
Yeah, that's why I ended up with an
$599?
Xbox to begin with after the PlayStation 2, because of the price.
Yeah, and Xbox MSRP was like at $299 in the beginning for like the 20 gig console. And then I remember I got one at a GameStop pre-owned for $180. And I was like, for the next generation console at the time, I was like, this is a steal. Until I realized how faulty the systems were. But I got to give it up to EB Games, GameStop at the time. This is years ago. This is not like the game stores have changed since then. They had an ironclad warranty for $20. No questions asked. They would you just buy it. You put the $20 warranty on your console. Whatever
And they
happened,
switch
they
it
would
out.
take it right back and just hand you a new one, brand new one. That's why I went through 9 Xboxes, because every one I had a faulty chip or something. Something was wrong with the Xbox, where I was plagued with the red ring of light. Like, I think the final one that lasted the longest is my R2D2 limited edition console, where they finally fixed everything. That was console number 9. But everything, like, I feel like the fastest turnover I had for a console was like 4 or 5 days, and like it caught the red rings, and I had to give it right back, and I was like, jeez.
So as we're on this topic of consoles, let's talk about like, so you guys were mentioning it before. What are the consoles you owned, and like how do you think like the hardware advancements have changed the gaming experience?
Oh, tremendously, tremendously, because it's like, aside, because graphics are always gonna, like, you know, it's weird how in the 90s we would be like, oh my god, but like looking at polygon, like the 3D polygons, and like how they used to plaster the face on and be like, oh my god, the graphics are so real. And then like you look at it now, you're like, oh my god, what was I thinking? Now you can say, like, how far can you push graphics, because it's like it almost looks like you're watching a movie nowadays. But when you talk about technology, you're talking about, and Sherm is gonna love to chime in on this one, because he's like, the best controller, Chris, is the PS5 controller. There's nothing that's gonna beat the PS5 controller. I was like, all right, fair enough. But when it comes to technology, Nintendo has been, for me, the company that has experimented the most, with the Wii Motion, Wii consoles, the N64, that funky joystick in the middle. Like, everybody looks at that controller and is like, why this? Like,
Yeah, what is happening?
going from like 2 buttons all the way to 6 buttons, from like the Super Nintendo, and then like going to like whatever the N64 was. Then I didn't have a problem with it. I'm going to go on record saying I actually liked the GameCube controller. I didn't think it was bad. It was a little funky, yes, but it felt comfortable in my hands. And that's, for me, is part of the importance of like technology. It has to feel comfortable. Like, it has to serve its purpose. And I feel like GameCube did that. Going on to speaking on Nintendo, just looking at the Game Boys, like going from like the first Game Boy, the Game Boy Pocket, how like that thing was like a brick, and then they were like, no, we got to make it so it's super portable. It can go anywhere, and you can game wherever you want. That was a big thing about technology, was like the portability, the playability. Then the Game Boy Color, like we finally got color, even though Game Gear did it, but Game Gear.
The Game Boy Color, when we got that color,
Oh my
woo!
god!
I thought I was tops. I thought I
When
was bang.
I thought I was the man when I got
Yeah.
my Game Boy. Like, that was like, you were like the
Color? Oh,
yeah.
is your Game Boy Color?
Game Boy Pocket was fire. Don't get me wrong, but like I feel like its lifespan didn't last, because like Game Boy Color came out. Then you look at the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance was dope. Like now you're going into like the 16-32-bit era of games in handheld versions. Then you go to the DS, the whole dual screen, the stylus touch. Then going up
Pokemon
to like
games.
yeah, the 3DS, and one console that I feel like didn't if it dropped now, I feel like it would be successful. I feel like it was way ahead of its time, where it just failed competing with Nintendo at the time, was the PSP. I feel like the PSP, you could listen to music on it. You can web browse. You can watch movies on it. You could play video games on it. That thing had everything the PlayStation 3 had in a little tiny console. So why it wasn't successful, I'm not 100% sure. Like, that, I feel like the listeners will probably be able to chime into and say like, oh, it was because of this, this, and this, or it didn't sell well. It probably sold well in Japan, but in the States,
Yeah, that was interesting. The PSP didn't stay hot for a long time.
No. And then
Yeah.
like that, I remember when the PS Vita came out, a lot of people trashed the PS Vita.
I had a Vita.
Yeah, I remember, because I had the Game Boy, and like it was like like cartridges were like the thing, and like everybody was making fun of the Vita, because they went from the UMD disc, like those little tiny discs, to the cartridges, and like just like, oh, you guys, like, again, console wars, people, the trash talk was a mess. It was like, oh, you guys talked all this crap about CDs being this and da 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 da, and how we can't fit. And look, y'all went to cartridges. Exactly what PlayStation did. They went to cartridges. So I don't know why they made that decision. I feel like they should have just opted for an all digital thing. But again, the technology at the time probably wasn't available for like all digital files. Like it was starting because we had like the virtual consoles and things like that. But to go to a pure digital only console, I don't feel like the world was ready for that yet, because everybody still likes physicals.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And look what happened recently. Like what was it? The Xbox finally shut down its
PlayStation, the Xbox store, right?
It's digital store, so like you can't buy any games on it anymore. Like, oh, my birthday of all days that they shut it down. I was like, yikes. But and GameStop did not hesitate to like troll everybody. It's like, bet you wish you had physical copies now.
Physical copies are on its way out. What about you, Sherm?
So the systems I own now, I have a PlayStation 5 and a Switch Lite, the little one.
Yeah.
The kids have my PlayStation 4 and the Xbox Series S. So in regards to the hardware, there's like what's going on right now is it's great for accessibility, right?
Yep.
Everything is digital. You could just go into the PlayStation store, get the game you want, download it onto your system, right? Nintendo. So the thing with Nintendo, I feel like Nintendo, no matter what, it could be 30 years from now, they are always going to grab people of our age range, because like how we just said, if you look at an 8-bit game right now compared to the games we have, it's trash. But guess what? I would go and play Mario Brothers any day of the week.
The nostalgia
I'll go and play Mega Man 1 any day of the week, right? So even though Mega Man is not Nintendo exclusive, but the games came out on Nintendo back in the day.
Yeah.
So in regards to the hardware, it's just crazy. Now, the bad thing about this, and it depends on what age range you are, it takes away from going to the store. Oh, he got the Mega Blaster.
I just died.
That's it. It takes away from going to the store and actually buying the game. Like I remember doing that when I was younger with my mother, going to the store, Toys R Us. Back in the day with Toys R Us, you had to get a little paper. Like they didn't let you get the game.
Yeah.
You got the paper.
God.
You saw the game, by the way, in the case. But you got the paper, you took it to the cash register, and they gave you the game. Like those things don't happen anymore. Huh?
On that, so we talk a lot about like games like Zelda and all these other things, but I know you guys are also big fighting games people, right? And fighting games have a unique place in gaming history, right? So let's take a look at that, right? What made games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter stand out?
Oh, for Mortal Kombat, that's easy. Like Mortal Kombat was doing something at the time that nobody else was doing, and that was the gore factor. Like the fact that you could brutally destroy your opponent on a screen, like, and have like the blood physics and like the fatalities. Like no other game was doing that at the time. So for us, Street Fighter was like me, because I love Street Fighter. Street Fighter is one of my favorite fighting games of all time till this day. Like me and Sherm have gone back and forth on it, and there was one point where I thought we were like kind of like tied up, and then my man hit the master rank, and
Hey, you hit master?
Yeah, he's a master rank. And I was there.
Whoa.
I was there. Cheering.
Look at your face. No, speak on it, Sherm. Speak on it.
It's funny because there were times. Okay, but before I get into that, before I get into his journey on that, so Street Fighter was dope because it had things that relatable not relatable characters, but characters that we grew up with, that we were just like, oh man, yo. It was on the Super Nintendo, it was on the Sega, like it was on older consoles, so we remember those games.
And remember the cartoons, and these are like
like there was the animations, there was the movies, things came out like that kind of helped promote that game. Then Mortal Kombat came up, and we're from the generation where we're the younger ones. So when our older siblings or the older heads at the time play these games, it's kind of like more like Mortal Kombat was for like the adults, and like Street Fighter was like for the kids because it wasn't gore, it wasn't this. And I mean that was how I grew up. Like I'm not saying like that's how it was in general. That's just how I grew up. But I remember it's like you wanted to do what the older kids were doing, so you wanted to play Mortal Kombat. You wanted to see this. Then you had games like Killer Instinct that had the insane combo feature, like mind blowing. Like before, it was like how me and Sherm used to talk about it. Is like in order to do a combo in the older games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, you had to cheese, and the game would do stuff to prevent you from cheesing, where it would literally like it would be 2 hits and then it would automatically push you back. It still does that to this day, but I remember games like Killer Instinct, like you was like hitting dude like ultra combo, like stuff like that. But yeah, like you see the progression of certain fighting games. Like to this day, like one game that I'm praying comes back, or I'll even settle for a remaster. Just give me back Power Stone, Capcom, please. I want Power Stone back. Yeah, but go ahead, Sherm, because I know you've been itching to touch
Yes, speak on it. Tell us a little bit about this.
Just to speak on what Chris said, like my experience with Mortal Kombat was completely different. That was not a game. The adults that I was around wasn't playing video games. So when Mortal Kombat came out, I think it was 1994. I was 8 years old. It was just a video game. It had the gore and it had all of that, but it was a fighting game. So I didn't have that experience of like wanting to do what the older kids did, because the older people around me, they were not playing games, except for like my older cousin, but he played like sports games like that, like basketball games and stuff like that. So Street Fighter to me, like that's the game for me. Like I play Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior, and you know how we talk about nostalgia and things like that? I just came across this post that I made on Instagram years ago. Street Fighter taught geology. No, not geology, sorry. Geography. With Street Fighter, you had Chun-Li, who was from China. You had Ryu, who was from Japan. You had Ken, who was from America. You had Sagat, who was from Thailand. You know what I'm saying? So every time you fight one of them, the plane would fly somewhere. Once again, Capcom game. Zangief from Russia. You know what I'm saying? So I played Street Fighter more than any other fighting game. And in regards to what Chris is talking about, like Street Fighter 6 now, when I bought it, I did not have any intention of playing this game online because they reintroduced a mode that they had in Street Fighter Alpha 3 called World Tour mode. And they made it kind of like an action-adventure game. So when I first brought it, I was like, damn, like I could finally play World Tour mode. World Tour mode was in the original Street Fighter Alpha 3 for Dreamcast. Every iteration of Alpha 3 after that did not have World Tour mode in it. Like they just took it out for some reason. So the PSP version didn't have it. The PlayStation version didn't have it. Like, and then when they started releasing it again, it was basically just the arcade mode. Like you could just play it, right?
Yeah.
So when this happened, I'm like, oh snap, you create your own character, you get your own moves. You know what I mean? Like you can mix up moves from legendary characters. So that's what I did for like the first month of the game, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? Let me try to play rank. Now I'm not an online person. You guys know that. The only games that I played online was with y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I never did anything like that. So started playing this.
To a degree, yeah.
Started playing this. And the one thing about Street Fighter 6, it's the first Street Fighter that I got into heavily since I was training in MMA. Right?
Yeah.
So there was a character in the game. His name is Luke. Luke is like the new face of the game, right? Not popular with the base because everybody's accustomed to Ryu being the face of the game. But Luke does MMA. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just pick this guy. Like he does MMA. I know his moves or whatever. So I'm starting to play, start ranking up, started in bronze. So it goes from like rookie to iron to bronze to silver, gold, platinum, diamond, then master. And remember, Spark, when we was ranking up, we had to get stripes. Then we got the low version. then the middle version.
Then
It's
the
like
high
that.
version.
So
Yeah.
even in like gold, there's 5 levels for gold. There's 5 levels for silver. There's 5 levels for platinum.
Yeah.
And in order to rank up, you have to win. So if you lose points.
Oh,
If you
you
win,
derank?
yeah, like you can
absolutely.
de-rank. Like
And you
you
can
could go
de-rank.
from like platinum
Yeah.
4 to platinum 2 if you just keep losing and losing and losing. So I'm like, yo, this
I'm too sensitive for that.
Yeah. I'm like, yo, this is stressful, bro. I'm sitting here, yo. There was a point, Spark, and this is Chris can attest to this. When I got to platinum 1, I could not win. I'm talking like losing back and like losing to everybody. I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm never getting out of platinum 1. This is it. You know what I'm saying? I put a post on Reddit about it. I'm like, yeah, this is the top I'm ever gonna be. I'm fine with that. Blah blah blah. Then there's this event called Evo, right? Mm-hmm. Evo is the gaming convention. Like you go there, you fight in tournaments, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. They used to have Smash Brothers, but Smash Brothers ain't there no more. Evo pops up, and this was last year when I had my shoulder surgery. So I'm looking at it, and I get inspired. I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. Now I'm gonna come back to this in a second. When I was watching Evo last year, I was just looking at how they do that combo. Yeah, that combo was nuts. Like I want to do this combo and blah blah blah. So I get back on the game. I rank up to platinum 2. I'm like, all right, I could do this. Platinum 3, da da da. And you know, you're going through your ups and downs, right? And you know what I compare it to? Spark training. Remember when we hit our highs? When we was good at something and we like, yeah, we got it. And then
that's something that's
we
like
hit that plateau and we're like, damn it, yo, I can't get no better than this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Things start feeling bad now. It's like I suck. Like I'm never gonna be good at this.
How long did it take you to get from like out the platinums into the master, Sherm?
So I started in bronze 3. Mm-hmm. I think I started playing ranked in July. The game came out June 2nd of last year.
Yeah.
So for like the first month and some change, all I did was play World Tour mode. Like I said, I didn't play anything else. So I started.
We got trashed for that, by the way.
I started ranked in July, and I got to master rank on January 15th on purpose because that was MLK Day. I sat down and I said, I'm doing it today. Like this is the day that I'm doing it. And you know what, Spark? Like, okay, so when Chris talks about frame data, these are things I didn't know. I was just when I learned how technical Street Fighter really was, I realized I just been pressing buttons. I didn't know exactly what I was doing, right?
We all have.
So if you wanna put frame data in terms that we understand this, Spark, if you're throwing out your jab, right? Mm-hmm. And I throw out my cross, who's gonna hit who first?
I don't know.
Is my cross gonna hit you, or is your jab gonna hit you?
My jab is gonna hit you first.
Why?
It's my front hand.
It's faster.
It's faster, yeah.
That's what frame data is in terms of Street Fighter. So you got the startup frames, the active, which is the punch, then you got the recovery, which is the traction, right? That's all frame data is. So, but I didn't know any of this.
See how he breaks it down?
So he took whatever you said, and now he is 20 miles after in the row. Like he's gone now.
No, but listen, because we did.
No, but he's right.
Because we did martial arts. When I started to learn this and I started to look at the game, I'm like, yeah, of course. If I try to throw out a heavy kick and this person throwing out their little jab, I'm gonna get countered every single time the game doesn't see nothing but frames.
Yeah.
It don't see the specials. It doesn't see the
sees the speed.
Yeah, all it sees is a crouching jab has a startup of 4 frames. Your crouching heavy kick has a startup of 10. What you think is gonna happen if y'all keep mashing the button, right? Yeah. Then you got this thing like safe on block, unsafe, or like all these things I did not know. So I'm like, you know what? Spacing tracks, and all of this part. Think about it again. You're better at jujitsu than I am, right? Mm-hmm. Here we go. Even though we both grapple, you know I know things, right? So you can't just attempt an armbar on me. What you got to do? You got to bait it. You got to go, I'm going to look like I'm going to attempt just to see how Sherm reacts, right? Okay, I go for the armbar. He does this. Okay, so I know not to do that. Now, that's like layer 1 of your offense, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, let me do something else. Let me try to get the L lock. Let me see how he reacts to that. Okay, now it's layer 2 of your offense. That's what Street Fighter is. So when I'm learning this, I have to compare it to martial arts because I'm like, that's because first of all, it's a fighting game with mad different martial arts in it.
Yeah.
And the ill thing about Street Fighter 6 is this. Like, I'm master rank with Luke, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean I'm master rank with Chun-Li.
So they won't give you, like, if you switch characters, you start.
No.
You have
start
to
all
learn how
over
to fight
again.
with that character. You have
That's
to learn.
fire, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's martial arts, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you can't be up just because you're a black belt in MMA doesn't make you a black belt in jiu-jitsu, right?
And
like,
then think about
see,
it like this,
now,
right?
Now I feel like I'm being targeted because it's like I have all this knowledge from when I was doing martial arts, and I remember when I started training with Sherm, he's like, Chris, it's okay, you're learning a new art.
Yeah,
bro.
but why would you feel targeted? It's true. Like,
it's true.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's funny because it's like, hearing you say it, it's just like, oh god, it's like I'm reliving it all over again.
Then Master Rank Sparkle is a black belt. Put it like that, right? When we got our black belt,
and there's degrees.
We didn't know everything, right? Our technique got better after we got our black belt because now Jimmy is looking at us and he's not letting us get away with the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, what takes us from being a first degree to a second degree? Now we know how to do certain things a little better. We're not just going in, getting our little arm bars and being happy about it, right? That's what master rank is. So even though, yes, I am master rank, but there are levels within master rank. You understand?
Now, that's the question.
Yeah.
Can you drop from master rank?
No.
Oh, thank God.
No.
I
no.
cannot
So
imagine
So the crazy
part
is,
I couldn't imagine that.
No.
So the crazy part when I brought up the staircase thing, it's like, all those steps were his levels of like
platinum, diamond, and all this other stuff. Yeah.
And the thing is, when he got to Diamond 5, it was like, and he like there was times when he's like, I think it was like Diamond 3, like you wanted to like stop. Like Diamond 3 was like he stopped. And I for me, yes, it was hell for him. But for me, it was like I couldn't let him do it. I just couldn't let him do it. So I was not coaching it, but I was literally like cheering him on. I was like, Sherm, you're 2 steps away from entering the lounge. You're about to be part of a very, very exclusive master rank club. Don't give up. Like, you're right, dude. You're right there.
Like, think about it like this. Once again, think about all the stuff we struggled with. High yellow, right? High green. Yeah. You see that face? Because now you look back at it like, I was trash back then. What the hell was I struggling with?
Trash. So much trash.
Of course.
That's how I feel now. Like, when I'm in master rank now, mind you, so you can't D-rank, but there's now a different point system following this guy. Pro player, well-known. This dude thinks like nobody I've ever freaking heard in my life. Like, this dude coaches pro players and everything, and he was breaking down like what every level meant. 15 to 16, 16 to 17, 17 to 18. Like, every level has a different thing that you have to learn. That's it. So when I start listening to him, and he's reviewed some of my games and all of that, Chris will tell you, like, he reviewed one of Chris games and all of that. So
he did?
Yeah. You know how Jimmy used to talk to us? Right. You know how he would just say whatever? Not in a bad way, but it's like, you're a black belt now. Why the hell are you still getting hit with this? Like, what's going on here? That's how Filipino champ is, but he tailors it to your level. Okay. So if he's reviewing like a gold player, he don't say that type of stuff. He's like, yo, that's good. If they do something like hit an anti-air, he's like, yo, that's perfect. Right? Just do that. Me?
But for a master, it's like, what are you
doing?
For a
master, it's like, yo, what are you doing, bro? Like
yeah, so he'll come at you. But it's, for me, he was nice about it, even though he did trash me and Sherm about our World Tour hours.
Yeah, he don't like the World Tour mode.
He don't like World Tour. But for me, like, that's the disagreement I have is like, me, I'm all about the lore. Like, I love Street Fighter lore. Like, I love learning about it. So you learn things through World Tour mode. You learn about
but even
characters.
Even the World Tour thing, he'll trash people about it, but he always be like, yeah, like just enjoy the game how you want. Like he don't. Like he'll be like,
He
just enjoy
busts
the
balls
game.
about it, but he'll be like,
But
just enjoy the game. But you're not gonna take it seriously, brother. If you're doing World Tour and your labbing hours are two.
you know what it's like. Once again, Spark. Once again, you've done jiu-jitsu tournaments and things like that, right? World Tour mode would be something like you just roll around with random people preparing for a tournament. It's like you're grappling with people that you know you could just submit, beat up. By the time you get to the tournament,
work. It's no work. It's no work
right.
involved. You just have fun.
So World Tour mode is fun. Like it's not anything crazy, but with him, it's alright. So this is gonna go into like a video game affecting how I think in real life thing, and then we can drop the Street Fighter thing, right? So since I've been watching him, since I've been paying attention, Evo just passed again, right?
Yeah. Shout out.
I watched it
Evo
with completely different lenses now. I'm not looking at combos anymore. I'm looking at the situation. You understand?
Yeah.
I'm looking at why did he make that decision?
I feel like the noob now. I feel like because I'm like, bro, did you see that? And he goes, Chris, what part were you paying? Did you see this part? And you see the options he took? I was like, no, but I saw this part. He's like, Chris, what were you paying attention to? Like,
because
look at this is why it's so technical. He's looking at he can now see the technical parts that he wasn't able to see before.
Yeah, it's because of F-Champ. Like the way he explains things. And Spark, once again, like MMA, when you watch an MMA fight, remember when we was really into it and we could be like, yo, this dude is trying to throw this.
Everything. We can see it.
That's what fighting games are. But when you're in it and you're playing it, you have to get the repetition in to learn how to think like that. Like I'll give you
making me feel like I need to get Street Fighter.
I've been telling you to get it.
I'm not doing it. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. It's
no,
crazy.
Like the Capcom sale just happened.
Every few months.
It's like $20.
Y'all yelling at me. Last time I checked, the Steam store it was $56. I remember.
All right, so you missed the Capcom sale then, because Capcom had a sale in July.
Just had one for the 1 year anniversary, and usually because it's doing so well, they always put it on sale. They always do that. So basically, it's like this, right? Everything means something. In
World Tour the whole time.
The World Tour. Everything.
Brother, what are you doing, sister? You can't do that.
Everything means something. You understand? In this game, every decision that you make means something. Remember when we used to watch Julio fight?
Yeah.
At the Capital?
Yeah.
What did Julio do in the first round? Do you remember?
No.
He ain't do shit. Sorry. Julio was always doing nothing. And we used to be like, what the hell is going on? And what would happen in round 2 and 3?
Yeah. He was a bait round. It was a bait round.
That's what Street Fighter is like.
Yeah.
You're only gathering information first. That's all you're doing. Like, what is their patterns? What is things? Now, how do you take that and you put it into the real world? That thing works with everything. It works with everything. You could look at how you talk with your significant other. You could look at how you talk with your children. You could look at how you talk with your coworkers. Everybody has patterns. Mm-hmm. Everybody has things that they stick to. Everybody have argument points that they like. So you can either keep doing the dumb thing, right? Like for example, when I
Chris
grab, Chris will wake up mashing buttons, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I stopped doing that.
But listen. He's mashing buttons. I'm running up on him and I'm punching him the moment he gets up because when you're on the floor, you're negative all the time because it takes frames to get up. Which means if you press a button as you're getting up, I'm already ahead, right?
I'm minus
and I'm plus. So if you keep doing that, I'm going to just keep hitting you every time you get up. Now, how does that transfer into the real world? You know what you say to piss off your significant other. You can either keep doing it, right? You can, all right, and the argument can keep going and going and go, or you can be like, you know what? Let me just play a little different this time. Let me back up a little bit. Let me block waking up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sometimes you take the grab. You understand? Sometimes you don't punch. Sometimes you just take the grab and you just take it. That's it. Take the L. Gather more information on the situation. So
So that's something I learned from the pros is like because there were times where I'm like, yo, why is he getting like throw looped right now? And the throw looping is actually safer to do than if you didn't block and you try to like hit them and they tech you.
They tech.
And then as soon as they tech you, so let's say like
I got this, Chris. Hold up.
Explain it better.
Because everything is in MMA.
Yeah.
You going in for a takedown. You go like that.
Yeah.
You want to see what the person does, right?
Yeah.
Let's say next time you grab them. So now you got them grabbing. And let's say you go like this. Now their hands are up here. You go in for the takedown.
Yeah.
Teching a grab in Street Fighter is just timing your grab with theirs so it breaks the grab.
Yeah.
If I throw you 2 times, you're automatically thinking he's going to throw me again.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to shimmy you, which means I'm going to walk up, then I'm going to walk back. So when you do this, now I can punish counter you.
Yeah.
So that's what Chris is saying. Like it's safer to kind of take the throw because you'll take some damage as opposed to eating a full combo.
The percentage of damage you'll take for a throw or a throw loop, even though Big Bird, it looked like he took about like 60% of somebody's health throw looping 4 times. But that another story.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. But it's like I'm learning from the pros you watch is like, no, it's safer to take like a throw versus like you getting tech for it or like you getting whiff punished for it. Mm-hmm. Because when you get whiff punished, then you get punished damage. So you get like a 15-20% increase of damage taken from
something that did like 20% damage is doing 25% or it could go up to like
Street Fighter, that's all.
Yeah, so like that game has taught me how to approach situations in real life different. Even now I'm starting to hit the bag again.
Yeah.
Now I'm paying attention to the real purpose of hitting a bag. It's not just it's like
black belt years later, like Street Fighter. That's game.
Everything is applicable.
No, but see, this is the importance of gaming. Like you learn like life lessons. Like real talk. Like
I just like when I play games and like you could play a game on the surface and you enjoy it. But then when you learn about like the deep, oh wow, because I remember I love Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? So I'm playing it,
and a lot of people did it. But
before you finished off into the end.
Yeah. And I'm playing it and I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. But then me and my boy was talking, and then it hit me. I was like, "That's why you gotta kill the zealots." I'm like, that makes bad sense. And then I start looking into it. I'm like, "Yo, this is so crazy."
Can't wait for the next one though.
We ain't gonna get into that because that right there, yo.
I'm gonna get into it. I'm mad at y'all fans because, yo, it's a fictional game, and y'all getting mad that they put that like let's be real. Like people are getting upset that they used a historical figure as the main character, and then what got me upset is that Ubisoft tried to save face and said, "Oh, our game is fiction, and we don't really use historical characters in our game,"
which is nonsense.
Bull crap.
It's nonsense.
They had Leonardo da Vinci in Assassin's Creed 2, bro. Like that was
stop. Like y'all don't use.
And furthermore, like in my head, especially talking about this whole Assassin's Creed nonsense. Who cares? Like that's where I'm.
It's a game.
Pick a $70 game.
You know who doesn't care?
Play it or don't. Like.
You know who doesn't care? The Japanese people.
The Japanese people.
Which is funny because when Ubisoft, because I sent Chris that post that Ubisoft put out. They apologized to like the Japanese thing, and then the Japanese people they apologized to said we didn't talk about that. Like that's they was talking about like I think violence in the game or something like that, but not the context of Yusuke being the main character. Like they didn't care about that.
Yeah,
because he actually existed as a samurai.
Nobody cares about it except the people who don't have a thought to care about. Like it really it's a $70 game. You play it or you don't, and that's it.
My thing is like I don't care who's the main character. My biggest concerns when it came to the gaming part is like, please don't ruin the combat that was the last game.
Yeah.
Like I was like, whatever the last Assassin's Creed game was that just came out. When I saw the gameplay footage, I was like, this doesn't even feel like Assassin's Creed game. Like you're teleporting to kill people.
We'll see.
Now,
We'll
like,
see.
what
I
is
think
that?
it's hard to actually judge what it will look like outside of the playing it actually for yourself. So
Yeah.
a lot of the times you see some of these things and you're like, not gonna work for me. But when you get in there, it's like, oh, okay, I can see how this works. You know, so
Yeah.
especially with games like Assassin's Creed and Final Fantasy and stuff like that, where we get like bogged down on the things that we're regularly accustomed to, where we're not as comfortable accepting like the little changes until we play it and feel what the mechanic feels like.
Yeah, because I could say the same thing for a bunch of like the Monster, like, and I see like a ton of people chiming in on Monster Hunter now, and the ones that are complaining the most are the fivers. Like,
yo, bro, don't be disrespectful, son. Chill.
No.
Chill, son. If it wasn't for fivers, the Monster Hunter game wouldn't be that big.
It would
It was
not.
the Monster Hunter World that blew the game up right now. The fivers.
Son, you clearly never played Generations.
Nobody cares about Generations.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
But
So,
I'm loving it.
No. So I'm not talking about every single, but it's like the ones that like they're spoiled from it. It's like, so they're seeing the new mechanics for like the new Monster Hunter that's gonna come out. They're like, oh, like I don't want to keep hunting the same repetitive monsters. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's like, that's all Monster Hunter is. Is like you hunting the same monster over and over again because you're farming and things like that. And they didn't like Rise because of this. Granted, Rise in Sunbreak was fun, but it was one of those moments where it's like, I personally felt, because I've been okay, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't part of the first fleet. I was second fleet because I didn't have access to the first fleet. I got access to first fleet years later. And oh my God, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. You're trying to use, so you guys know how you attack in Monster Hunter. You guys use the button pads to do your combos. The first fleet, it was the R stick, the right joystick, and it was like, yo, I was like, I remember playing this. I was like, how are you supposed to do a combo with this?
Couldn't be at all.
Yeah. So I'm glad that they changed things when it came to like Monster Hunter Freedom, and like Freedom was like on the PSP. That's when they started to fix a lot of the things, and the game was way more playable.
Next question, Spark, please. This guy
we are going to wrap up. We've been to Japan and France and back. We went around the world. We talked a lot, and it was beautiful. We might have to run this back, but for now, we're going to wrap it up. Guys, thanks for joining us, Chris and Sherm. Any final thoughts or shout-outs?
You're wrong about Electra.
That's going on your gravestone.
This was incredibly fun. I would definitely be down to do this again. I feel like we didn't even get to like delve deep into like some of like the most difficult games.
We answered 3 questions, and that's fine.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. But it's like we'll get to that topic another time. But this was so much fun. You guys are amazing. I love you guys. You guys already know how I feel about you guys. Y'all the squad. So until next time.
I love this. I think that Sparkle, this should become like a little series. You know what I'm saying? Because
listeners, I want to take a second, and I'm gonna keep this in the episode. I'm not gonna edit it out. Guys, let me tell you something. For everyone who's listening to this, all 30-something of y'all on Spotify and YouTube. For years, I've been begging Preach, Mr. Sherm, right here to start a podcast with me. And he's talking about make this a mini-series. I finally decided I'm just going to do it on my own because, oh boy, you don't want to do it with me. Now he's talking about make this as a mini-series. This was fun. Okay. Anyway, continue your shout-out, bro. Continue your shout-out.
Wow.
I'm keeping this in the episode.
You know what that was just now in Street Fighter terms? I just hit you with fake pressure, and you called me out on it. You called me out. Everything was safe just now for her. And she caught me. She caught me with the fake pressure. Yeah.
She won the set right now.
Yeah. That option select right there was crazy. That was crazy. Yeah, like, this was great. I loved it. I do feel like we didn't touch on a lot of things, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like this was amazing, and I cannot wait
for Monster Hunter to come out so we could get back on the three of us. Sparkle's gonna play on PC though, so she gonna have the best frame data.
I'm just
everything
saying
was
it.
great on the screen.
I think she might have the most bugs on drop.
That's true. No, for
She might have the most bugs. Let's be real.
For real.
She won't get passed till like a month later.
in regards to like, plugs or whatever, Live Your Truth Fitness on Instagram, personal kickboxing trainer, like we said before, certified instructor, black belt, and training for 13 years now. It's like 13 years. GamerDad86 on Twitch. I'm gonna start streaming soon.
Let's go.
Besides that, that's about it.
All right.
There's Magaball Cosplay on IG, Skinny Geek on Twitch, and I'm also part of Live Your Truth Fitness. I am a pupil. I study the arts.
Let's go.
So shout out to Black folks.
All right, all of that will be linked in the episode. So if you want to hit up these guys, make sure and do that. Thanks for listening to Game Life Chronicles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share. Game on.